So, hi guys, and welcome back to another video. I'm joined with a special guest today, which is Joel Montague.
Hi, Dime.
Would you like to just elaborate on the introduction that I've just made?
Of more than my name. I'm a West End performer. I've been fortunate enough to do a few tours and some West End shows. Yeah, and hopefully we'll get back to it when all this ridiculousness, is over, I guess.
Yeah, it's gone on long enough now, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think for the entertainment industry, it's
Yeah,
definitely gone on long enough now. We're like, okay, come on, come
yeah.
on now.
So I asked my Instagram followers just to give you a few questions.
Yeah.
So let's get started with them. So, what is the most inspiring thing in the theatre industry, in your opinion?
Oh wow, that's a great question. What is the most inspiring thing? For me, I'd probably say people breaking barriers, um, whether that be gender specific or sexuality or race or even size to a certain extent. For me personally, it's hard really because I'm kind of like the ultimate bad guy. I'm a straight white male, so we as much as we're sort of kind of put on this weird pedestal in one sense, as if we don't have any problems, we kind of still do because we're actually part of that ilk of people that I don't know, how do I say, kind of feel like we've got every opportunity, whereas actually it's really, well, it's getting closer to equaling out. And I think that's, for me, that's the most inspiring thing. I've always made sure that I would like to, as a bigger guy, I'd like to break boundaries. I don't see how, I always feel every romantic role or romantic lead is played by someone that's society wise handsome. So I kind of like breaking that barrier and changing it up and, not being the norm, let's say.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of like how this industry works. So,
Yeah, a lot on luck really, which funnily enough, for me is right to a certain extent, but then in other areas I just think it's a bit ridiculous as well, because you can't, they kind of pigeonhole people with a feel. It's like if you are pretty, then automatically you're allowed to be in love, but anyone else that isn't like conventionally that way looking doesn't. Like, for me, I'm a bigger guy, so I've always got to be the funny guy. But why? That's, I always find that very strange. So for me, people that break those boundaries, whether that be through race or sexuality or gender or whatever, I find that inspiring. The way that it changes, I find inspiring.
yeah. So, in 2008 to 2010, I think it was, you was in Billy Elliot the musical.
Yeah,
Am I correct
yeah.
in saying that? That is actually one of my favorite shows.
Oh, it's great. It's a
I
great show.
I absolutely love that. So what was it like being a swinging Billy Elliot? Like, what was it like working with them kids?
It was crazy. I mean, I was very fortunate. I had a lot of talented kids, and one of them most famously being Tom Holland, who's now Spider-Man. So that was kind of crazy. Knowing Tom as a kid and now where he is now. I mean, not that I stay in touch with him, but he's gone on to pursue massive things, and also another lad, Dean Charles Chapman. He's gone on down that strong film acting route. He's done really well. A lot of those kids have been amazing. There's a few of them that have gone to the ballet companies, and it's unbelievable. So to get the opportunity to work with those kids was so good, and I just learned a lot on that job. Like, I was 21 when I walked into that job. I was very, very fortunate, and I had a lot of people with a lot of experience that were working on that job, and they taught me. I always feel like I got a good 6 or 7 years experience within the 2 hours there, just because of the age and the caliber of people I was working with. So yeah, I was very lucky, very, very lucky.
Yeah. Did you work with Leighton Williams at all on that show?
So no, Leighton's. Funnily enough, Leighton's last night was on the Saturday, and I opened on the Monday. So Leighton closed to that cast and I was part of the cash change, really.
All right. Okay, yeah.
But obviously, I mean, Leighton was actually the first Billy I saw. Leighton was the very first Billy I saw. My housemate, well, actually, some people might know Bradley Jaden, who's in Les Mis, and he's my best mate. And me and him were the same year at Guildford. And he was, for my 21st, he was like, I'm going to take you to see Billy Elliot. Because funnily enough, I wasn't really that bothered about watching it. I was like, oh, okay, fine. And then I watched it and I was like, wow, this show is something very, very special.
Yeah.
And I think I watched it. Bradley took me to watch it in the February, and I was in it by the December, and that was crazy.
So it was a quick process then for
Well,
you.
yeah, because I wasn't even auditioning for the show. When I first saw it, I wasn't even auditioning for it. I didn't even think about that being in that show. And yet, you know, literally, you turn that clock 8-9 months, and there I was in it, which was crazy.
Yeah, I can just think now, like it was just a short process, and there you are in the show.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy.
Absolutely.
So the next question I've got is, did you have any prop mishaps in Never Ever Getting Rid of Me choreography?
Did I have any prop mishaps? I think, touch wood, no, I didn't. I did in a rehearsal. I remember that one time. I remember our wonderful director Dan Paulus, who actually I'd never met. When you go into a show like Waitress, your audition gets filmed and then it gets sent across to New York, and they okay, you know, whoever they want as the role. So Diane had only seen a video of me. I hadn't actually met her, but she was over because of Sarah and Gavin, and to sort of check on the show. And she gave me some amazing notes. But during that rehearsal, she grilled me in a really good way. But she gave me some really distinct notes. And for some reason, I ended up putting the flowers on the wrong chair. So by the time I went and did the jump over the chair, my flowers on that chair. So it was funny, our lovely resident choreographer, Leanne Pinder, was like, you've never done that before. And I was like, no, it's because I'm probably thinking about so many things that sometimes you just have to. I think I was very fortunate. The only prop one I remember was the flowers, because I blame Desi Oakley. Because Desi, when she came in for the 2 weeks, she said to me, she was like, I don't know how you do it. And I was like, what? She was like, literally every time you throw that bouquet, the door never moves. She just doesn't move. It's like a perfect throw. Well, of course, the minute she said that, the flowers were going here, there, and everywhere. And I think one time Liv Moore was on for Dawn, and I chucked it that far off that she literally had to, like, you know, American football Super Bowl it into the wing and then come back on. So yeah, it was a bit crazy.
I can just imagine that right now.
I know, right?
Yeah. So the next one I've got is, what was your favourite swing track in Billy Elliot?
Oh God, that's turning the clock back. I used to. There was a gent called Phil Snowden. I used to always like his track. He always had quite a busy track, Phil. I used to like his, because my favourite song to do was Grandma's Song. I always loved it. I don't know why I loved it. I just did. I just thought it was so. I just thought Peter Darling's vision for it, and what was quite funny is when you watched it from an audience perspective, you really didn't actually get you understood the essence, but it looked completely different to what you were being told. We were told very much to be quite gruff and hard and quite disgusting towards Grandma, as if she was some sort of like young whore, basically, in that time. But what comes across as an audience member is this beautiful, lyrical, peaceful song, you know, the way that it moves, the way that it flows. So I found that very interesting, that you could give a bunch of actors one note and actually it has the opposite effect to the audience, which I thought was very, very clever.
Yeah. Am I right in saying that you covered Dewey Finn in School of Rock?
Yeah, when it first opened, yeah.
Yeah, so you was a part of the original cast for it?
Yeah, I was part of the original London cast, yeah.
Yeah, everyone is asking about that. Everyone's saying, what was it like to cover Dewey?
what was it like what it was like to cover him was scary. What it was like to play him was amazing. Covering a role of that magnitude, how can I explain it? Dewey's like a 10-year-old trapped inside a 30-year-old man's body.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
the energy for Dewey is off the scale, and I think and that's no disrespect to any of the boys, because all the other Deweys were phenomenal. But I think because I was a dancer, my energy, the way I could move my body was a lot more extravagant, let's say. So I made Dewey look like a bit of a maniac, which probably was too much actually at some points. But that was just my take on him. Because you always put a little bit of yourself into the character, and so that was sort of my edge compared to like David or Gary, who had different things, and Stephen Leask, who had different things, and Galavan, who followed, and Alex, and and Jake. All those boys had different things to offer. So yeah, it was just scary that at the drop of a hat, I literally had to go on for a role that was like a freight train. It was just like you just didn't stop. You literally didn't stop. So yeah, it was scary.
I can imagine, like, when I saw the show, you could like physically see the sweat coming through.
Oh yeah, it's a disgusting show. And also, what's funny is kind of people think that's because we're like bigger boys, and I'm like, well, yeah, it is, but also it's not. Like, if anyone did that role, you'd be sweating buckets, because it's just the energy and the attention that you give in that role. It's massive, massive.
Yeah, because it's quite a energetic role, like you said, and it looks like you've had about 15 like caffeine shots before you've gone on.
Oh yeah, I mean, and we were on. We used to have, like, it sounds a bit disgusting, but we used to have diorolite in our water because of the salt, because you'd lose so much salt from your body. So to keep that energy up, you had to keep dilated. So we had to try and keep the salts in our body as well. Like, we could probably lose, I would say, if you weighed yourself after a show, if you won't have, you could probably lose about 3 or 4 pounds a show doing that role. Like, if you were, which you can't always do, because sometimes, we're only allowed to do one show a day anyway. So you were never really allowed to do 2 shows a day as doing, just because it was relentless. Like, and also, if you were ever under the weather, you literally just about had one in you. Do you know what I mean? Like, to try, if someone had told me, if I wasn't feeling great, someone had told me I'd do, I'd have had a bit of a breakdown, I think. So,
is there any onstage mishaps that you can remember?
Loads. What, in any show?
In anything, yeah.
Yeah, loads. My voice was cracked quite a few times. That's definitely been one. I kicked the hat. There was the big famous Twitches line in Billy Elliot. Walked up the stairs, tripped up the stairs, fell flat on my face, like stuff like that. Just being a swing. Being a swing more than anything, it would always happen.
Yeah.
You were always bound to get something wrong. Always bound to get something wrong, because there was just so much to think about. So, yeah, definitely loads.
So, another one that I've got is, what shows do you want to see after lockdown?
I want to see Prince of Egypt because I've not seen it yet. Pretty much seen everything else. It's hard, really, because it kind of sounds like I'm poo-pooing the other shows. But, like, for example, like Come From Away, I've seen Come From Away once. Yeah, I've seen it once, but I saw the original Broadway cast as well. So that, and the same with Evan. Like, I saw Sam in Evan, he was amazing, but I also saw Ben Platt. So it's kind of like every American show that seems to come over here, I'm kind of a little bit like, I want to go and see it because of the guys that are in it, but I'm also a little bit like, I saw the original cast, and sometimes I don't think the same feeling because you've already seen it. Unless you're excited about a particular person going into a role, the show is kind of like, oh yeah, they'll do an amazing job of it.
Yeah, that kind of leads me into my next question. So, what is your opinions on stunt casting?
I've got to be really careful what I say here. What are my opinions? Okay, I'll put it like this. If you're in America and you've got a stunt cast in America, they are the top of the top in that field.
Yeah.
Here, that isn't the case. Here, I feel very much we settle for mediocre. And I do think, you know, a little bit to blame is sort of the public as well, because I think because everyone sort of loves the Love Islands and the Towies and the reality TV, they then think having a reality TV star in a musical is a really good thing. And I'm like, it isn't. Not compared to all those people that have trained for 3 years training for that. Those people could train for 3 years and then easily go on. Like, that's like Amber Davis.
Yeah.
Amber trained at Erdang for 3 years. And I think, I could quote, don't quote me if I'm wrong, but I think she actually got offered a job and she applied for Love Island at the same time she got Love Island. So she went on Love Island. And now Amber's going to have an incredible career. But with Amber, she's got the goods because she trained, she did her 3 years at Erdang, she, you know, so you can't really blame the girl because the girl has actually got everything that you need to be in a musical because that's what she trained in. So for anyone that is a reality TV star and has gone and done that, like, fair play, because it's in their sort of industry. But anyone that thinks they can just have a go at it, it's not something. I feel quite insulted when someone thinks they can just have a go at it, because it's like, well, then what of me and all my friends? What have we trained for? And what have, you know, you don't have a musician coming in and going, "Oh, I'll have a go at the guitar." Like, that doesn't happen. So why does it happen to actors? You know, if for me, I'm like, listen, if I wanted to be a doctor, I'd train in medicine. Well, if you want to be an actor, you train in acting. That's just how I see it. It's not that other people couldn't do anything. Like, you know, obviously the entertainment world is very vast, isn't it? Yeah. So you can kind of transfer from different things, but I'm not too sure whether the reality TV star is right in that world in that bracket of entertainment, let's say, if that makes sense. I hope that doesn't come across to anyone of my friends. It's like, oh, so you think that of me? I'm like, no, I don't, but you know. It's hard to get it right. It's hard because I also think there's a flip side to it as well. Like, those people are then also having to prove to a lot of good professionals that they belong, that they should have that role, you know. So and that's another pressure that's on the other side of it. So it's difficult.
Yeah, exactly. It's like with James Corden being in every single movie musical you can think of.
Yeah, I mean, but it's funny that you mentioned James Corden, because James Corden's, I think he's a really talented guy.
Yeah,
and he's a very talented, brilliant writer. He's a great actor. I wouldn't say he's like the most amazing singer in the world, but he can definitely sing. You know, he's a great presenter. He's funny. Did I think he was brilliant in Into the Woods? Yes. Did I think he was brilliant in The Prom? No, I thought he was miscast personally. But what's funny for me with him in particular is he got a lot of bad press from sort of the gay community because he wasn't gay. People were saying, making the excuse that it was the way that he played the role, and I was like, but how else would you play a theatrically camp character? It doesn't matter whether you're heterosexual or homosexual. Those actors would play it in a very, very similar way. I just felt a lot of that heat was because of the pure fact that he was actually a heterosexual person. He was an heterosexual actor playing a homosexual character. So for me, I was kind of like, it's a little bit double standard, because if Nathan Lane would have played it, I don't think, even if Nathan Lane would have been bad, I don't think he would have got the same heat.
Yeah.
But, you know, when it was announced that James Corden was up for a Golden Globe for it, I was like, I don't, you know, and that's with respect to him. And I'm sure if he knew me and he saw me, he'd be like, God, you're awful in certain things, which, you know, I don't think he was awful. I just thought he was miscast personally. That was all, you know.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have that opinion about James Corden within The Prom. I know I certainly did. Like, when I watched it for the first time, I was like, I'm sorry, James, you've been brilliant in other stuff, but I just personally think you was not right for this role.
Yeah, and that, honestly, that's and that's, you know, if I ever met him, obviously I wouldn't be like, oh, I think this about you at all. But if this, something like this did come back to bite me in the bum, I would be like, well, yeah, I did think that. But
Yeah.
every actor has opinions of other actors. It doesn't mean to say that you don't like them. It doesn't mean to say that you don't think they're good. I think an actor can be miscast, and we've seen it on many occasions, not just James Corden in The Prom. You know, loads of occasions where you've kind of sat there and gone, God, I could think of about 10 or 20 different actors that would have probably done a better job of this. So, but he's worked hard. He's got a great name for himself. He's British and he's killing America. Like, he deserves all the praise he gets, whether people like him or not. You know, he's worked for it. So fair play to him.
Yeah, that's 100% true. So, a lot of people who are watching this will probably know that you have your own theatre radio show.
Yeah. Well, yeah, just started. I went live on Sunday and it was a nightmare. It was hilarious.
Yeah, I listened to that and honestly, I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Bless you. It was good, and then all of a sudden the system crashed, and I was like, "Oh my God, what is happening?" It was awful. But yeah, it's the Cat Radio, which is a Northwest radio station. It's 107.9 FM, and I do Sunday 7 till 9. I'm kind of like a late night Elaine Page. So that's how people want to take me.
Yeah. So what's it like having your own radio show?
I love it. I mean, I think, to be honest, what will be even better is after a few weeks, if I have got a bit of a following and people really listen to it and like it, then it's the interaction with other people and suggestions. Like, I love a controversy. I love people saying, you know, like for me, there's going to be parts of it where I'm like, right, tell me, let's discuss, like, you know how it's kind of like unpopular opinions on Radio 1.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to do like an unpopular opinion of a musical. Someone give me a musical that they hate, that they think everyone else loves. So like if someone came on and was like, I don't like Hamilton, then I'll be like, right, let's give me your reasons for not liking it. Do you know what I mean? Like that sort of thing. So I always find that interesting, rather than it always being about, I think there's lots of different channels, but I think for me, and it's not because like I'm so experienced, but I've just got a lot of friends in the business. I'm a working actor, and I think people like to connect with. It's great having someone that can just play musical tunes, but I know a lot about musicals. Like, I love musicals, so therefore I can give people information, or I can give people anecdotes of certain recordings I'm playing, or you know, it's not just like for me, and this is no disrespect to the lovely girl that sort of did a kind of show like that before me, but they were all just like generic albums. It wasn't like the original cast of Miss Saigon. It was like just someone singing it, and I was like, no, you can't have this. Like, you can, but it kind of should be Lea Salonga, or or Ava, Noble Zada. It's got to be for me. It's got to be like those the standout recordings of the show. Play that, and then if anyone requests certain things, like they want a Betty Buckley version of Sunset or whatever, then I will go and trawl through and see if I can find some stuff. And I just like that. I just love stuff like that. I adore musicals, and everyone that calls me a stagey bitch, fine. Like, I can't help it. I don't. For me, I still don't get to this day people that are in musical theatre that hate musicals. I don't understand it. I'm like, why are you here? Yeah. So why are you doing a job that you hate? You obviously don't hate it because you want to keep doing it. So I don't like pretenders. It's not cool.
Yeah. So what inspired you to set up this radio station then?
I had nothing to do, really. I came back from lockdown and I was like, well, I'm bored. And basically about, you probably won't know this, about 6 or 7 years ago when I was doing Rocky Horror, I had to leave the show because I had a really, really serious back injury.
Really?
And yeah, a really serious back injury. I had a back operation and stuff, and it was fine. Like, touch wood, it's all fine now. But it put me into a very sort of dark place, really, because I kind of, at that time, she's not anymore, but at that time I met my girlfriend on the show, and so there was me and my girlfriend, we were touring together. I was in a show, I had all my friends, I was earning money, and then all of a sudden, over like 3 days, that stopped. So I had to terminate my contract. I was away from my girlfriend. I was at home with nothing. I didn't have a job. Like, it was a lot to take all at once. It was like a big punch in the face. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And during that time, I ended up thought of, all right, well, I'll just see what's going on in the radio world. I'd never ventured into radio, and I joined a little place called Redshift, which is another local radio, but they're on internet. Met a few friends, really enjoyed it, did a few shows, and kind of that was it. So when I came back again, and I sort of kind of foresaw that this was going to be a lot longer than we thought it was, I rang the Cat radio, which is on FM, so it's actually on, on radio itself and not just internet. And Jeff, who sort of runs the program, and was like, in the nicest way, he was like, well, we never have a West End actor coming onto our radio station to host a show. So he was like, of course, like, we want that. We want, for not, I'm not the highest in my field, but for in a small town like Crewe and Nantwich, I am probably one of, I don't think there is a lot of people in Crewe and Nantwich that have done a West End show. So for me to kind of, and been very lucky, like I have been, but for me to kind of go and do a show, a radio show, was kind of cool, really.
Yeah, so the next question that I've got for you is there any behind the scenes stories from any show that you've done that you are allowed to share or want to share?
I mean, probably not allowed, because I've got a big mouth. That's my problem. I'm trying to think, like you said, if there's any that I want to share. I don't really, like, kind of like what? I know that sounds really bland, but like what sort of things? Because gossipy stuff I don't really buy into. So like, that's sort of.
So like anything that's happened behind stage or stuff like that.
I mean, obviously there's the standard of, really cool people coming to watch the show. That's quite cool. On Waitress, funnily enough, here's a story that people might not know. One of my good mates, Sean, who I'm an usher for at his wedding, he's staging. I love a show. He worships musicals, like literally worships them all. So his two best men, they were coming to London for a weekend, and they sort of were like, oh, can you sort something out? So I did a stagey treasure hunt for him. And basically, he's got a ridiculous amount of ushers. There's like 10 of us. And I got loads of people from the West End. So like I got Charlie and Zizi from Poppins. I got Alice Byrne from Come From Away. Trevor from Hamilton, like loads of different people to do these videos to give him clues to take him to the next theatre. So then one of his ushers was at a theatre with a prize, and then we'd give him the next one. So then by the time he ended up, and then the last bit, I commissioned one of my good friends, Siobhan Webb. She's on Instagram, Siobhan Draws Stuff, I think it is. It's just some amazing artwork. And my friend Sean is in quite a few, he was in my company, but does quite a lot of local shows around the area. So I basically got her to commission a picture of all of him as all the characters that he's played in the shows. And he ended up coming backstage at Waitress and meeting Sarah and Gavin, and they presented it to him. So that was quite a cool thing to do. That's kind of like, apart from meeting famous people, like, like Graham Norton or Emma Thompson or things, people that come to watch the show. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, that was kind of a story, I guess.
So what do you think would happen if Ogie ever met Dewey?
That'd be carnage. That'd be carnage. There'd definitely be carnage if it was Joel's Ogie meeting Joel's Dewey. I think they'd get on like a house on fire, but I think they get on because they're like polar opposites. Like they're just as crazy as each other, but they're polar opposites. Like Dewey's a slob and Ogie is not. Ogie's like OCD,
Yeah.
Everything's got to be perfect. Do you know what I mean with Ogie?
Yeah.
Whereas Dewey's just not bothered. Dewey doesn't care. Dewey'd rock out if he broke both of his arms and both of his legs. Do you know what I mean? Like that's Dewey thing. So
he'd find a way to do it.
He would, absolutely.
He definitely would. So, out of all the characters that you have played, which ones would you invite to dinner and why?
Dewey, definitely. Ogie. Although I think Ogie would annoy me. I've got to invite Mendel. I'd invite Gangster 2 that I played in Kiss Me Kate for security purposes. I'd probably invite them all, actually. I'd probably invite them all. Yeah. I don't know. I think some of them are... it's weird when you look back at characters that you've played, because you kind of, you know, some people may do. I just kind of, once I've finished a character, I don't really think about them anymore, which is weird, because it's always a good question. What you know, what do you think would happen to the character after the show's story, I guess? So I never think of that, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see.
So, out of all the characters that you have played, which one is most like you?
Dewey Finn. Yeah, definitely Dewey.
Just a straight up answer.
Yeah, he's just crazy, and I'm crazy, like in a good way. But I'm, excuse me, I'm more like a child.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm a big kid, and that's what Dewey is. You know.
Yeah, 100%. So, if you could revive any show, which show would you revive?
A show called Hot Shoe Shuffle. It was a show that not many people know. It was about it made Adam Garcia quite famous. It was a show about, it was an awful story. It's about 7 tap brothers. It's awful, but I'm a big tapper, and I was a huge fan of Tap Dogs and Stair and Kelly and all those guys, and Gregory Hines, Sammy Davis. Sorry, I've got a tickle in the throat. And yeah, I'd revive it, hands down.
So, what advice would you give to aspiring performers?
Always try to do something that makes you happy, aside from acting, because it's a very, very tough business. And I think, I also think you have to be careful of how, this sounds really random, but how much in your life you've been rejected, because the business is built on rejection. And if you can't take rejection, it's very difficult to contend with mentally. So that's why I always say, you know, if you're good at art, or you're good at history or whatever, go for acting, go for it, but make sure you're doing something on the side that makes you really happy, whatever that may be. You know, where you can go off in your own world and do whatever.
So the final question that I've got on here is, what are your dream roles?
Funnily enough, I never even thought of this, but yesterday I would have loved to play the Phantom. I'd love to play the Phantom. Yeah, I'd love to play the Phantom. I never really, there's never a lot of roles that I really considered. I'd love to play Damien in Mean Girls. I'd love to play Beetlejuice. I would love to have a crack at Harold Ziegler in Moulin Rouge, but I'm too young at the moment. There's loads of roles, but I think effectively, if there was anything out of this world, it would to originate a role that was written for me. Yeah. I think that would be the best thing ever, because you never know, and you can always look at other roles and be like, oh God, I'd love to have done, you know, kind of like, you know, Alex Brightman had a brilliant thing, you know, originating Dewey, then originating Beetlejuice. I mean, that's like 2 epic roles. Do you know what I mean? That you can do, but I think the fact of being able to originate something that has never been done by anyone else in the world before, that's cool, you know, because that will then it will always be associated with me. And I think there's something really beautiful about that, like, yeah, you'll always be attached to, like, Ben Platt will always be attached to Evan Hansen now for the rest of his life. It doesn't matter however many revival productions of that show that are done, Ben Platt will always be mentioned alongside Evan Hansen. And I think there's something really wonderful about that.
Yeah, because Ben is actually going to be playing Evan in the film as well. So
yeah, in the movie. And I think like, you know, obviously there's been some reports of like, gosh, isn't he a bit too old? And it's like, but listen, you know, cameras and film is unbelievable anyway. And he does, I mean, what is he, 25, 26?
Yeah.
All right, playing a role that's 9-10 years younger than him. Okay, fine, I understand where they're coming from, but still, the guy's incredible. He's an unbelievable talent. And he originated that role. And I think he's got every right to play that role in the film. And I think for and not that I know Ben personally, but for him, what a way to have originated a role from a workshop that was written for him and to close it off with the film. That'll probably be the last ever time he ever does Evan. He ever visits it, ever in his life. You know, apart from singing the songs maybe at a concert. But he's never probably going to play that role ever again, unless he came to London for like a 2-month stint and played it. Do you know what I mean? I very much doubt he will play that role again. You know, and I think the film would be the best way. I mean, what a way to sign off your role. I'm going to do the film and possibly get nominated for an Oscar. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, what a brilliant ending to a process of a show.
Yeah, so I'm gonna move on to these quick fire questions now. These are just 5 questions that I randomly came up with. So, favorite musical?
West Side Story.
Plays on musicals?
Musicals.
West End or Broadway?
Broadway.
Favorite theatre you have performed in?
Me personally?
Yeah.
Does the Palladium count if I've not actually... Well, no, I did the musical's greatest show, so the Palladium. Yeah, the Palladium.
And this one is a massive trend that is going about, and it just causes a debate every time, is cereal soup.
Cereal soup?
Everyone's had this.
No. Cereal.
That's exactly what I said.
Why? I've not even seen it. Is it like a TikTok thing or something?
No, so basically when I first saw about it, it was on Maddie's story from 6.
Right.
And
I see.
Lauren Burns' reaction to it was just a picture in itself.
She's brilliant, Lauren.
Yeah, she really is.
I mean, yeah, definitely, it's definitely cereal. What a weird thing! What a weird thing it's come up with.
A weird thing to start asking.
Yeah, anything starts a trend, I guess, doesn't it, really?
Yeah, it's like that new Weetabix and baked beans thing going around on TikTok.
Yeah, I get you.
It's like one of them, and you're just there like, don't make me throw up.
I know, like, yeah, please stop making me feel sick.
Literally. So yeah, that comes to the end of the questions.
No worries.
Thank you for doing this. It really means a lot.
No, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So yeah, there you go, guys. There was the Q&A with Joel. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Also follow me on my Twitter and my Instagram. And I will see you soon for another video.